I will start my reading practice from the book Clear Thinking by Shane Parrish, your repository of good behavior. Choosing the right exemplars helps create a repository of good behavior. As you read what people have written, as you talk to them, as you learn from their experiences, as you learn from your own experiences, you begin to build a database of situations and responses. Building this database is one of the most important things you will ever do because it helps create space for reason in your life. Instead of reacting and simply copying those around you, you think, here is what the outliers do. When you face a new situation, you have a catalog of the responses that people on the far right of the bell curve have had in similar situations. Your baseline response moves from good to great, from reaction to reason. Your board can pull you in the right direction despite your instincts. If you have our board stacked with high character people, we will end up wanting to be the highest character version of ourselves. We will have the confidence to take a moral stand and to act alone when the social tide goes the wrong way. We need not passively follow its ebbs and flows. Our personal board gives us the courage and insight to swim in the direction that's best. A final note on exemplars: just as other people serve on your personal board of directors, you serve on other people's boards. Denzel Washington reminds us of this point. You never know who you touch. You never know how or when you will have an impact or how important your example can be to someone else. Maybe it's the new employee down the hall. Maybe it's your kids. Maybe it's your cousin. It doesn't matter. What matters is there is someone out there looking up at you and using your behavior as their North Star. Everything you do has the power to change someone else's life for the better. As Seneca said, happy is he who can improve others not just when he is in their presence, but even when he is in their thoughts. Practice, practice. Strengths of character result from habit. We acquire them just as we acquire skills. We become builders, for instance, by building, and we become harpists by playing the harp. So too we become just by doing just actions, temperate by doing temperate actions, brave by doing brave actions. Said by Aristotle, it's not enough just to pick exemplars and assemble a personal board of directors. You also have to follow their example, not just once or twice, but again and again. Only then will you internalize the standards they embody and become the kind of person you want to be. Imitating your exemplars involves creating space in the moment to exercise reason and evaluate your thoughts, feelings, and possible courses of action. Doing this retrains past patterns of behavior so they align more closely with the patterns of your exemplars. One way of creating space for reason in your thinking is to ask yourself why your exemplars would do what your exemplars would do if they were in your position. It's the natural next step. Once you imagine them watching, you make decisions and put them into action. If, for instance, you are making an investment decision, ask yourself, what would Warren Buffett do? Likewise, ask yourself, how would I pitch this idea to my personal board of directors? What kinds of factors would they care about? What kinds of factors would they dismiss as irrelevant? If you imagine your exemplars watching you, you will tend to do all the things you know they would want you to do and avoid the things you know would get in the way. If you imagine your exemplars watching you, you would tend to do all the things you know they would want you to do and avoid the things you know would get in the way. It's important to engage in this thoughtful exercise often. You have to keep doing it until you acquire a new pattern of thinking, feeling, and acting. Keep practicing until the pattern becomes second nature, an element of who you are rather than just who you want to be. One strategy for building strength is to practice in a sandbox. As you may have guessed, the sandbox is metaphorical, a situation in which any mistakes you make are relatively inconsequential and easily reversed. A sandbox allows you to make and learn from mistakes while containing their cost. Practicing in a sandbox increases the likelihood that you will be successful when the stakes are higher and the outcomes more consequential and less reversible. One reason why you usually start out managing just one other person or a small team rather than an entire organization is that your failures are contained. Starting with a small scale management role is one example of a sandbox. When you are running a whole organization, mistakes are costlier and harder to contain than when you are managing a team. There is no substitute for practicing with the real thing, yet, sandboxes can remove the downside of the mistakes you inevitably make when practicing. At the intelligence agency, we would always practice and rehearse before an operation in the environment in which it was safe to fail. We treated the practice as if it were the operation itself. We would do all the things we planned on doing during the operation and try to predict and respond to all the things that could conceivably happen. If something didn't go as planned, we would adapt, and sometimes we would fail. Failing in that sandbox, though, provided a learning opportunity with few real world consequences, whereas failing in a real operation could cost people their lives. Thank you. That's it for the day.